Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Every Day's a Train Wreck. I'm your host, Marley Major, and I've got a very creative, fabulous woman on the show today. Her name is Samantha Williams. She is an interior designer, and I've got to say that I know her husband, but I have been enamored with her ever since he mentioned her deal with wallpaper. And she's going to tell you she does a lot more than just work with wallpaper, but it's kind of integral to this fabulous story of this project she's currently working on in France. So please welcome to the show, Miss Samantha Williams. And I know you as Sam, but are you supposed to be called Samantha?
Sam is fine. It's a 50-50 split between Samantha and Sam, and I respond to both equally.
Okay, well, there you go.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Well, I'm excited. So tell us, first of all, let's plug the name of your company. Tell us the name of your company and tell us what you specialize in.
Yeah, my company is Samantha Williams Interior Design. I'm based in Pasadena, and we specialize in renovation, interior design, reconstruction right now with a lot of rebuilds in Altadena.
Yes.
And yeah, so basically full service interior design, and I have a background in interior architecture.
Yep, another dummy on the show. There you go. And how did you get into this?
Yeah, great question. So I thought I was going to be an attorney and was a political science major for my undergrad. I got my first real job was working for a government consulting firm studying federal funding appropriations, and I couldn't have been more bored. I literally hated my life and thought I was wasting away my 20s in this cubicle because that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And that was really the driver of figuring out, like, okay, I could go to law school and I could do this and be good at it.
Yeah.
But what do I really want to do?
Yeah.
My father's an attorney, and he genuinely loves every day of his work and is so happy with his career choice.
Yeah.
And I looked at him and thought, I'm so glad that he loves it, but I don't think I would love it in the same way. So it's time for me to really get down to business of figuring out for myself what my vocation should be. So I knew I wanted to do something creative. I wanted to work with people. I wanted to be a little more out in the world and not just so stuck in an office.
Yeah.
And this really just started to check a lot of boxes for me.
Now, is your dad a litigator?
He is.
Okay, so I knew it. That's why I'm telling you, I think the ones that are passionate about law, because I'm telling you, I think I missed my calling. I should have been in law and just a litigator, since I just love to just pull every last thread apart and, come up with a strategy.
Oh, yeah. He loves to, quote, play the game. So
yes. Oh, I quote, love to play the game too, as your husband, Marco, knows very all too well. So full disclosure, I came across Sam or know her and her work because her husband, Marco Ibarra, is the engineer for the ranch that I'm building. You guys have all heard about a ton of in San Ynez. And Marco, we would take these drives up to see the property because I hate to drive. And, Marco is, getting paid. So I was like, please, will you just drive me? I hate to drive. And so, but we'd always end up in these conversations about, well, you really got to talk to Sam about that. You've really got to talk to Sam about that. And yeah, but as they say, Marco gets a very different side of me than perhaps Sam gets. Marco gets the play the game litigator sometimes. So I digress. So we were talking, he and I were talking in the car one time, and I don't know, we got on the subject of wallpaper, and I am obsessed with wallpaper, and I'm not saying you're obsessed with wallpaper,
well,
but
I am.
Okay. So that I appreciate that because somehow the subject of wallpaper came up. I am this giant fan of this wallpaper that I've used in I don't know how many houses, called flavor paper, that is out of New York. And to me, it's like everything kind of looks Andy Warholish, and it's definitely one type, but I fell in love with them because of the smell-o-vision, you can scratch and sniff. Now, I didn't end up ordering the scratch and sniff because supposedly that's got, doesn't wear as well or whatever, but I do have bananas on my wall. So for some of you have seen in my social media, I have a lot of flavor paper. But when I heard about Samantha and the wallpaper, and how I think I heard about it in the context of you were researching some of this for this project in France you're doing.
Yes. So I have this project, a chateau about an hour west of Paris that I'm working on. And we're really trying to embrace some historic design. And so as I was researching what I would be doing for the space that I'm designing, I certainly looked into that. And having worked on a lot of historic homes in the area too, sometimes we really want to lean into that. And wallpaper is a great way to do it
Yeah.
because there are so many document and revival wallpapers out there that can really bring that flavor in
Yeah.
a way that's also very kind of on trend right now is
Yeah.
people are really rediscovering and appreciating historic preservation and those charming original details in homes. And
Yep.
oftentimes people think like, oh, if I have a wallpaper, then everything else has to be very quiet and plain. But and I think as design trends have kind of swung back to more maximalism,
Mhm.
embracing more of an English aesthetic, which is very in right now, you see
Mhm.
that layer upon layer of pattern and different textures.
Yep.
And wallpaper is a big piece of that. So, yeah, from France to here and projects all throughout, I really enjoy incorporating that into my projects.
Well, it's interesting that you say the historic preservation because, ironically, I think Pasadena, and we're talking about Pasadena, California, as opposed to Pasadena, Texas. Pasadena, Texas might be too, but I know Pasadena, California is very big on the historic preservation, and so many times, I mean, it's like, oh, we can only do so much to our house because X percent has to remain,
Hmm.
whatever it is. And so it's interesting that you're doing the same thing, that you're doing that same kind of thing in France. And
Yeah.
so tell us about this project because it's not like you're not it's not going to have modern elements, right?
Hmm.
So how do you do a project, in 2025 with a chateau that's probably very old
Hmm.
and not lose its character and not lose like the
Right.
historical integrity, but make it feel like, somebody who's not 90 years old and, a
Right.
count or something is going to live in it.
Exactly. So I think it's really about referencing some motifs through the patterns that I'm using for fabrics that kind of harken back to some elements of French
Mhm.
design without being like a literal fabric that was designed for the
Mhm.
1700s. And so that's a nice way to do it. And at the end of the day, I'm an American designer. And so even my trying to make something look French, it's always going to have my flair and my interpretation and perspective. And I
Yeah.
think that's one thing that the owners of the chateau do appreciate though as well, that it's looking at it through a different lens, through
Yes.
the lens of 2025. How are we
Right.
seeing this now? And how do we work with the context of it being a historic property, but also make it feel really comfortable, inviting, and interesting to people today? We don't want people to feel like they're in a museum or
Right.
things are too precious that they can't touch them. We want it to be a space where people can really sit down, kick their feet up, and enjoy. So it's kind of the balance of all of those things to come up with a design at the end of the day that checks the boxes, I think.
I love that. And how did you like to me it's so random, but how did you get involved in a project in France? I mean,
Yeah.
it's like everybody's as far as I'm concerned, everybody's dream. I mean, how did you land that?
It totally is, and it was certainly a dream for me. I just got this random email last October that I almost disregarded because I thought it might be spam, and
Yeah.
it
Mhm.
was from the one of the personal, interns of the owners of the chateau that I'm working on,
Mhm.
saying, "Hey, we're working on this project. Are you interested in collaborating? We came across your work. We'd love to talk to you."
Mhm.
And I thought, I have no idea who these people are and what this is, but I'm going to say yes and go down this rabbit hole and explore it.
Yep.
And we'll see what happens. And it's been just a very delightful convergence of just hitting it off with the owners and feeling like it's a good fit between them and me and partnering together on the project. And there's a few other designers doing other spaces as well. So it's a kind of very, very unusual project on a lot of ways, but we're having a lot of fun. And I look forward to going in just a couple weeks to be back for my third trip this year and continue the work on it and buy some more antiques and find some more special finds at the flea market. All
Yeah.
of
Well, it's interesting because you do realize that your good experience is what has made the catfish world thrive, right?
it.
Because it's one in a billion. So
Mhm.
everybody thinks, "Oh, wow, I can respond." It isn't too good to be true. But in your
Yeah.
case, it's reality. And so how so what is the goal of because the owners are American, right?
Uh,
Or the
the
wife is?
wife is American and the husband is French.
Okay.
And I think this is their personal home, but
Uh-huh.
they also want it to be a place where they can host a chef to film a TV show,
Hmm.
or have a group to have a cooking class for a
Right.
week. Or they had recently an artist who teaches at Harvard come and do an art studio trip for a group for a time. So they want to share the space with
Right.
people and make it kind of a hub of culture and arts, and also connection to the culinary world.
Hmm.
The wife has a nonprofit that connects Michelin star chefs with kids from more underserved backgrounds to introduce them to a potential career in the culinary world.
Terrific.
And
Yeah.
so Alice Waters, for example, is on her board, and she was recently at the chateau helping them design a
Oh,
really cool
amazing.
vegetable herb garden that's going to have her name on it as part of
Ah,
the legacy of the property. So I think the vision's really developing, but they really have this grand vision for what it
yeah.
can be and what it can mean in the community and for other people, because they're very others focused, I would say.
Yeah. It sound, and they're young, right?
Yeah, they're in their 30s.
That's yeah, I think it's just wonderful in so many aspects because it's
Hmm.
so wonderful to see people like that that are still out there, you know, like really encouraging art in every aspect, right? From redo like preserving this, I'm sure, beautiful place and bringing in just artists really of all different kinds. I mean, Alice Waters is certainly an artist
Hmm.
in her own right. I can't even imagine. And you haven't seen the garden yet, but she's
I haven't. I think that's still in the works, and I'll be there. I'm going to Paris in about a week and a half, and they're
yep,
having a dinner with their kind of stakeholders and investors in the
yeah.
property, a few of the other designers, and they have a Michelin star chef coming to cook
Oh,
dinner. They've got dancers, they have
I
artists who
am
are
so
doing
jealous.
special performances. So it really is this great convergence of art, culture, and design.
Well, ask her next time, the owner, if she wants a free party planner, because I will fly
Right.
myself there. I will do whatever just
I wouldn't be
to
surprised if she takes you up on that.
well, you know what? You Why don't you text her right out, WhatsApp her right after this thing? Because I'm telling you, I will fly myself. I will manage myself. I will manage your timelines. I will just to be in that amazing space because yeah, France is near and dear to my heart. Well, I went to cooking school 2 summers in
Oh,
France. So
amazing.
yeah, I love, love, love French. Well, French cooking, France, all of it.
Me too.
And how, so what do you think? Because I think, interior design is such a, how do I say it? It feels like sometimes it's for only people who have money or only
Right.
people, but at the end of the day, whether it's interior design or set decorating or thrifting, or, I mean, you're effectively thrifting in very bougie places, right? I mean, you're at the flea market and granted it's in Paris or near there.
Sure.
But how but people can riff off of some of that. Like, what do you look for, whether you're looking for a piece in, Paris flea market for a chateau or you're looking for, a house in Pasadena or somebody is saying, "Listen, I don't have 2 tons of money, but I'd love to go to the Goodwill or I love to thrift." How does somebody start?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I always say that interior design is a very intimate profession. We work, especially when you focus on
Yeah.
residential design, because there's
Yeah.
the world of interior design is vast. And I think residential work is actually about 10% of the profession, but
Yeah.
that's my focus and my love. And there's not a lot of professions where you spend a lot of time with people like in their bedroom, for example, and
Right.
understand their
Right.
lifestyle and their lighting needs, and
Right.
where they store their underwear, to be
Right.
frank.
It's just that's exact as soon as you said that, I was thinking, "Well, that's right," because 'cause you're just like, how do you like to stack the Marie Kondo underwear? Do you like the yeah. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so we really get to know clients, and there's a lot of trust, and we just by the end of a project, sometimes I know a lot more about people than I care to know,
I'm
frankly.
sure you do know a lot more than you care to know.
But that's okay.
Yes.
There's a lot of trust there, but I think as you get to know people, you get in their head a little bit. Part of what makes a designer successful is that intuition of
Ah,
understanding what someone's looking for, who they are, what's meaningful to them,
yeah,
because I can go through and accessorize a house and make it look great, but I'd much rather find things that are meaningful to people and incorporate their art, their mementos from their travel, things that make them happy and that really feel like home. And so I
yeah,
think that's a great starting point. And whether you are a billionaire or you're just starting out in your career, we all have those things that
yep.
we love that we can find inspiration from. And those are often great starting points for people to find inspiration.
I think that's terrific. And so let's say that I mean, I don't know, let's throw out a hypothetical where, you're somebody who's 22 years old and you just graduated from college and you've got your first apartment and you don't have a ton of money to decorate it, but you don't want it to look like, I mean, you want it to feel like your space. You might be there for a while.
Yeah.
What what would you like, what are the questions you'd ask yourself? Like, would you say, like, what kind of would you start with bedding? Would you say colors? Would you say, how do you want to feel in there? Like, what would be some of the
Yeah.
jumping off points?
I always tell people maybe start with a Pinterest board or some way to start to organize your visual ideas and
Uh-huh.
start to recognize the things that you're gravitating towards, the
Uh-huh.
trends that you see of things that you're penning and liking. And
Uh-huh.
that's a really good indication of maybe developing your personal style. And from there, I would say start with a few foundational pieces. Pick a great sofa,
Yeah.
maybe a coffee table that you think is really interesting that might be a little bit more than you think you want to spend, but you know you're going to have for 20
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Try not to buy disposable furniture. And
Yes.
you can find such high quality things at estate sales, thrift stores, consignment stores. It just takes a little bit more legwork, but there are so many treasures out there. And in a community like Pasadena, there's an estate sale
Oh
every
my,
minute
every
out.
10 seconds. I mean, and then I found then need these apps and stuff where you can find the estate sales, but then it's like, oh, they start on Saturday at 7 a.m. and it's like really like Friday night. It's everybody's
Totally.
rubbernecking,
Yeah,
right?
and even on places like Facebook Marketplace, you
Mm-hmm.
can even find great custom draperies on there
Yeah.
for, a fraction of what it would cost to do that. So I think if you are just a little creative and willing to put in some legwork, you can
Yeah.
find some really amazing things that
Yes.
well, I mean, I must admit, before I even knew I wanted to be a designer, I found a Persian rug at an estate sale that basically fit in my dorm room like wall to wall carpet.
Oh, that is when wow, that
Should
is
have
when
known. The light
you
bulb
are
should have been going on, but I was looking at
wow.
law schools at that time. But anyway, I still have that rug and it's in our living room. And it's one of those things that I fell in love with and I
Yeah.
still love. And I paid $125 for that rug on eBay.
Oh, yeah. Well, I no, I get it. But here's the other thing. That you can always tell, like, not it's not universal, I guess, but, like, good furniture from, quote, "the olden days" where it was well made, I mean, it's heavy and the slides and it's not like, oh my god, like, everything is whatever, poster board,
Yeah,
not poster board, MDF, I mean, and
right.
it is truly amazing, though. If you go to like, wherever you thrift, Goodwill or something like that, and you'll find this amazing dresser, and it's
Mhm.
not expensive in any way, shape, or form. Now, you might wanna strip it down and not have it be the kind of medium, shellacked brown it is, but
Right.
the bones are completely there, and you compare that versus, like, the disposable furniture at, let's say, IKEA, which, has its purpose, but
Mhm.
wow, you can get something that really is great quality.
That's very true. I completely agree. And most people think that being an interior designer makes me a do-it-yourselfer, and
Oh, hell.
DIY is not my thing one bit. I've got all the resources to do
Right.
beautiful quality work for me, but
Right.
you can find people to do things for you at very reasonable prices if you feel like, yeah, stripping a dresser on the weekend's not probably my shtick.
Right.
There
Right.
are there's still ways to do it, and I encourage people to explore that and be creative.
I love that, and then you're having the person strip the furniture that is passionate about, stripping the furniture. Like, I know somebody one of my friends loves to paint, not like murals, but like will paint buildings or whatever, not all the time and not but just because he's like, I like to just when the pipes that were white and, it just gets tidied up, like you can
Mhm.
see the results so quickly.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think it's just such a nice it's a great thing of satisfaction. I think it'd
Mhm.
be so much better if so many of us just took an extra minute and instead of just buying the whatever fast fashion or fast furniture. And I just read an article about I think she was from University of San Diego or something, a
Was the
girl who let's see, she was just or maybe it's like UC San Diego, I don't know, it was some school that was pretty big that after, when the kids move out at the end of, for summer and how all this furniture and lights and lamps and desks and all this stuff is just literally, like, thrown out because I mean, which makes sense because the
right.
kids are flying home to wherever they are, and so she came up with this company, and I really wanna interview her where she kind of was like this conglomerate for all these different
Uh-huh.
uh, schools and stuff, so that then in the fall, the kids could come and basically go shopping. And I thought that is so great, right? Because even an IKEA desk can last more than 9 months,
Oh, totally.
you know?
Absolutely. I love that concept. That's really,
If
really
it's
great to
it's
hear.
repurposed, and I thought, well, that's an entrepreneur right there.
Mhm.
So now when you go to France, will you be meeting with the other designers there, or do you just kind of go for your chunk and meet with the owners? How do those trips work?
Yeah, so normally it's just me and the owners, but there's another designer who is designing like one of the show kitchens of the
Mhm,
space, and she and I
mhm.
are going to meet up and go to the uh,
Oh,
flea markets, and they call them the Burkons, the antique stores together. And I'm sure, I'll be looking for fabulous accessories for my bookcases and my coffee tables, and she'll be
right.
looking for great like copper pots and things like that. But
I just hate
uh,
you. I hate you right now. I hate her. I hate everybody involved. Like my dream of just being somebody else paying for me to shop for copper pots. Okay. Right? Oh, that sounds amazing. Okay. And
yeah,
then why this time are you is it just coincidence that you're going at the time
well,
of this other
I mean,
designer, or is it because
it
it's
feels so frivolous to say, but the main reason I'm going is to be at this dinner. So I'm going to
oh,
France
yay.
for this special event, and I still have things I need to purchase. I need to meet with the upholsterer and probably the window treatment fabricator, and I have things to buy. So I'm
Oh, there you
making
go.
use, but it's all definitely around this event that they're hosting at the
Yeah.
property.
Oh, very nice. Well, there you go. I love that. And how do you think the other people so how many other designers are there that are part of this redo?
I think that there are 6. There's 2 kitchens that are being done, and one is much more of like a hospitality space. I think this designer works for like Ritz-Carlton, Rosewood
Wow, yeah.
Groups, and they have a very particular vision of how
Mhm.
to do this kitchen for filming and all of that. So very,
Mhm.
very specialized. And then there's the designer who's doing some guest suites, and then like a more public dining space.
Mm.
So yeah, a small group of us, but it's fun to have a collaborative project. We haven't really sat down too much. We've seen each other's kind of design visions and boards and things of that nature, but it'll be great when all of us are actually going to be at the project together at the same
Oh, yeah.
time and can get to know one another more and cross-pollinate a bit with our design vision.
And when will that happen? Because it hasn't happened to date yet at all? No, right?
We've all talked through Zoom
Yeah.
and things like that, but this will be the first time that we're all together at the property. So
That is that is so, so cool. And why why do you think the people that were chosen? Do you think it was because I think so many times it's like a lot of people can have great taste. A lot of people you can admire that, but I think so many things are chemistry. Like, do you think
absolutely, and that's a huge piece of it. They had their interns kind of narrow down 100 designers and really from all
oh,
over the world because
yeah.
there's people from Paris, there's a designer from Mexico City, and they I think interviewed maybe 40 of us and then narrowed it down from there. And then I think it really came down to for the owners, who do we have good chemistry with? Who
Yeah.
can we see ourselves working with?
Mhm.
Because you want to have a good working relationship and feel like there's a nice foundation of this is someone I would actually want to spend time with, let alone like work on my house. And so I think it came down to that. And of course, what our vision was for the spaces we were being selected for, and if it fit their vision for the property. So,
Yeah, it's a little bit like the showcase house. Like, I'm sure a lot of towns have,
yes,
the equivalent of the showcase house, like in Pasadena, where
yes,
we have this big showcase house, and then you have all these different designers. And sometimes a lot of times, I think what the challenge is the overall vision for the house, but then each room not looking like it was done by that particular designer.
absolutely. Yeah, I've been very involved in the Pasadena Showcase House the last 10 years, and I was one of the advisors last year
Oh, wow,
for
cool.
the house. And so that was certainly something that we looked at as we were selecting who was going to do what space was how are we going to hopefully get a really cohesive house with really
Yeah,
strong designers that make this look like something that you could actually live in, not
right,
hodgepodge
right.
of different things. And I think that especially for the viewing public that comes this past year, we had 35,000 people visit the house.
Holy cow.
But you want people to walk through and say like, "Wow, I could actually I could live here. I mean, for most of us, a
Yeah.
20,000 square foot house is a complete fantasy.
Right.
But
Right.
you can be like, oh, I love how this looks, and I could basically move right in. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of people did feel like that this year. It was a really gorgeous property, and I would say overall just a very special year that we had. Um,
Yeah.
just fell into place so well.
And
But
what do you
yeah.
guys look for when you're deciding a showcase house?
In
How do
terms of
you
the property or the
Well, just
designers?
like let's start the foundation with the
Yeah,
property. I mean, do you say, "Oh, it needs to be in Pasadena versus San Marino versus whatever because last year was in La
sure.
Cañada," or I mean, I don't know where it would have been,
Yeah,
but
there's certainly cities that are more open to having the showcase house hosted in their city,
Mhm.
and some that are less interested, for a
That's
variety
very
of reasons,
gracious
I
way
would
to
say.
put it.
Very
Yeah.
gracious. Yeah, neighbors are certainly a
Mhm.
concern. But having a house, I think that's at least about 10,000 square feet, so there's enough meat to really divide up and
Yep.
have enough people involved. And then, of course, acreage to host their shops and restaurant, and then they
Yeah.
look for a house that has 2 staircases for just the flow of the tour.
Ah, right,
That's
okay.
an important factor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so certainly in the area, it is Pasadena Showcase House, but of course it can be in La Cañada,
Yeah.
Arcadia, other places too.
Yeah.
And then every October, kind of a call is put out to designers through an invitation. And that's people who have done it in the past, people that the organization is interested in maybe, courting for a future year
Yep.
to come out and see it. And then there's a competitive application process for the rooms that are given out.
And so what are they looking for? Are they looking for designers with high social media counts? Are they looking for designers who like tons of experience with a particular type of room? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, I think it's kind of all of the above. I think that the organization really values having some diversity so that there's something for everyone. So, having a mix of veteran designers, newer designers that are just trying to make a name for themselves that might
Yeah.
have a younger perspective
Ah,
that
right. That's
would
right.
appeal across age groups. And of course, somewhat different styles. My take is the more cohesive, the better. And
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
want it to be too jumbled, but
Yeah.
people have different opinions on that. But and then of course, people that are willing to do some of the larger spaces, like it's a lot of work and a lot of money, frankly, to take on a kitchen or a primary bath.
Oh, God. Yeah.
And I think the public doesn't always realize that the designers are the ones that are footing the bills for those spaces. So um
Yeah. That's a
it's a big
nice
ask.
thing to remember. So, why would a designer take on one of those bigger, like a kitchen or a master bath
Yeah.
or master bedroom?
Yeah. I've done the kitchen twice and I've done a
Oh, God,
100
woman.
1600 master
Woo.
primary bedroom once, and every time I do it, when it's done, I think, "Why did I do that? That was insane." But I will say it is such a big thing in our community.
Yeah.
You have your work in front of 35,000 people.
Yep.
It's a great way, and that's my marketing budget. That's how
Yeah.
I've chosen to build my business in this community, and
Yeah.
it's been a great avenue for me. I think that I kind of know the market and what the market's looking for
Yeah.
and play to that, and, for me, it's been successful.
Well, I think you absolutely know the I mean, if I didn't know better, I would think that you are, you know, like born and bred because your website speaks very much to the market and your website will just give you like a little shout out is what is SamanthaWilliamsDesign.com?
WilliamsInteriorDesign.com, right,
WilliamsInteriorDesign.com.
yeah,
Thank God I clarified that.
yes.
Okay. And it's spot on. I mean, it looks like I mean, first of all, it's
Mhm,
beautiful, but it also looks like, showcase house worthy. What do you
mhm,
like? Don't reveal your specific numbers, but these days, if somebody wanted to do a showcase house, because I mean,
yeah,
at the end of the day, this podcast is kind of like all about pulling back the curtain. And then also,
sure,
we give a lot of business tips too.
yeah.
So if somebody's deciding, maybe not to do the kitchen, but to do, powder room or showcase something as it is fabulous marketing. So
It is.
what is one of the kind of what's the high end, like a kitchen or something cost, and
Mhm,
what's a lower end project to take on?
yeah. I always tell new designers who are thinking about doing it because that's a very common question, like, "How much should I plan on spending?" I tell people to have a budget of a minimum of $10,000 if they're
Mhm,
going to do it, because everything will be more expensive than you think it will be.
mhm.
You are able to get a lot of products donated through your business connections
Mm.
when I've done the kitchen, I've always been able to get a major company to donate the appliances, and I've worked with my local distributors, and I call on the fabric houses I do a lot of business with and ask for them
Yeah.
to partner with me. But you'll always end up paying for the labor.
Yes.
The person who installs your light fixtures, your painter,
Yes.
your wallpaper installer,
Right.
it's harder for those people to donate their time in full. So
Oh,
that's where a lot
absolutely.
of the money comes in. Also, just marketing materials, staffing your room, all of
Right.
those things add to the cost. So,
Because you are staffing your I mean, and you want the right person staffing your room.
absolutely, whether it's your employee or
Yeah.
yourself or maybe someone from the community that you hire,
Right.
that's important. So yeah, 10,000, and I know designers that have spent well over $100,000 on a
Holy
showcase house.
God.
I
Really?
know.
Oh
Yeah,
my lord.
yeah, and you have to look at it as really a long-term investment because people
I
do
would
come
hope
with
so.
programs, and
Jesus.
I tell young designers too, you have to look at the long game of this. Like, you're not gonna
Yeah.
necessarily do a room and get 10 great jobs, but if you show up repetitively
Yeah.
and you keep doing things that people see like, "Oh, I remember her from last year, and I like this room again too,"
Mhm.
it will really start to pay off in dividends, and that's how it's happened for me.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Like, I almost think that maybe it would be a better strategy for somebody to do a smaller room and do it
Yeah.
every single year because
Mhm.
people kind of well, people like consistency. They
They do.
like that, oh, they might, go to the showcase house and not be doing a project, but then guess what? A couple of years, all of a sudden they're like, "Wait, I saw that woman like, she was always really nice," or whatever, or maybe checks out your website. And,
Absolutely.
how many days a week is the showcase house open?
It's about 4 to 5 weeks. I think it covers 5 weekends, and it's open every day except for Mondays.
Oh my
So, you think that the
god.
marathon is, like, getting your project done
No,
in a
hell
short
no.
amount of time, but it really starts when that house opens and you show up and you staff it a lot and you're talking to people. It's exhausting.
And
So,
and how many hours a day is it open?
I think it opens usually around 9:30 and closes anywhere between, like, 5:30 and 7. So,
Like,
some nights
that is
it's
so
later.
much. I mean, so if it's, let's say, 5 days a week, I mean, that's like 8, let's just pretend
Mhm.
8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 40 hours for, let's say, 5 weeks. I mean, that's 200 hours
Yes, and the past
just
couple
in
years that I've done it, I certainly have not been there nearly that much. I feel like now I've built my business, I've got some name
yeah,
recognition, and I don't have the time and the bandwidth
yeah,
to be there that much, but if you're starting out and you really wanna meet people and get yourself out there,
yeah.
that's 200 hours of FaceTime
I
with
was
clients and
that's
people.
probably the 200-hour, yeah, best networking
So it's a great thing that we have that in our local backyard.
because 'cause you've done it for how long?
This past year, I think, was my ninth year. I started in 2014. I've taken a few years off here and there.
Yeah, yeah, and so do you think that was kind of I mean, is that something like somebody who's looking to get into interior design, is that something you'd recommend, like, finding kind of an anchor project like that or a project where you can donate your time or be part of the community or something that's a good way to
Yeah.
kind of market your business?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, definitely go to school and get a degree in, or at least a bachelor's degree, or not a bachelor's degree, but an associate's degree or
Yeah.
something, a certificate, whatever it is. I think that this profession is far more technical than people realize.
Oh, yes.
We spend the creativity is maybe 10 or 20% of what we
Yeah.
do, and
No,
that's
you're right.
probably generous. But knowing how to draft, building codes, all of that plays so heavily into what we do, knowing construction.
Yeah.
If you just wanna purely be a decorator and do that, that's one thing, but to be a full interior designer who handles construction projects, that's a lot for someone to just kind of hang their shingle and decide to be an interior designer.
You made a great point that I didn't even think of. Is there, like, a technical difference between decorator and interior designer? Or no, are they kind
Yeah,
of
definitely within the profession, and of course, the lines kinda cross over,
yeah.
but someone who's more of a design professional with an education background typically refers to themselves as an interior designer,
Mhm.
whereas a decorator is, and full respect to really good decorators because it is a skill that not even all interior designers have,
Yeah.
but that would be more kind of soft goods,
Mhm.
accessories, window treatments, things like that,
And then
focused on construction.
on the
Mhm.
interior design side then so when you're saying soft goods, window treatments and stuff, so on the
Mhm.
interior design side, are you saying it's, like, let's move the door here, let's break the wall down there to open up the space kind of
Yeah,
thing?
I would say that a lot of people are surprised by how much we do in-house, and they think a lot of what we do is something more of an architect would do. But
Uh,
my firm does full construction plans for renovations, kitchen and bath design, all of that.
yeah,
And it's thinking a little bit more holistically about the experience of a space.
yeah,
And that's really the foundation of design. How does the human interaction work within this space? What are the goals of that space? Um, which is a kind of a bigger question than just how do we make this look pretty? Uh,
yeah,
it's really about like creating a lifestyle, creating an environment
yeah,
for people to thrive, whether it's your home or a workplace or a healthcare facility.
right.
It's kind of the bigger picture of the human experience in that space.
Yeah, so and that's another thing you made me think of, I didn't think of.
Mhm.
So do you do residential projects as well as commercial projects?
They are two very distinctly different tracks within the
Mhm.
field, and I think it's hard to specialize in both.
Yeah,
I have friends who are commercial designers, and we always say, like, "I know nothing about what you do," and I feel the same way. I know nothing about healthcare design.
right,
That's not a track that I really pursued.
right,
They're just so vastly different in terms of what resources we use, what
right.
vendors. I'm not really thinking about how blood is going to interact with the fabric and sink into it. Unfortunately,
Right, right, right. Unless you're the house is gonna have 10 kids but
right.
that's for a different reason.
Yeah, definitely different reasons for looking at performance fabrics. But yeah, there's certainly different tracks and there's not a lot of crossover. I have done some light hospitality work where I've done
Uh-huh.
like a dining room for a private club or a
Right,
ballroom, but that's kind of private clubs are very homey in
right.
that private residential sense. So it's not
Yeah.
too big of a leap.
Well, but private clubs, my hat is off to you with that because that is its own I
Yes,
mean,
design by
Lord.
committee is never an easy task.
No, designed by committee and then the money that's being spent and some of them are like, how does the focus is like, how good does it look, which is great, but clubs have to I mean, you're talking about Mother's Day and Easter and these huge volume days. People don't realize how many people will go through a club
Yes.
at any given time on a holiday, and it might look like somebody's living room, but you've gotta be able to get in and out and bust those dishes.
Oh, yeah, and you have to think ahead for the club. How are they using this room? Is it going to be is the scheme gonna work with their holiday decor?
Right.
All of those things to
Right.
make it something that's really versatile, but also really specific to them and personalized.
So if you could pick and you could say, "These are the kind of projects I do," and, like, what would they be? Let's pretend even that money wasn't an option. Let's pretend
Mhm.
that, it wasn't like you got paid more for this kinda job versus that kinda job. So if it was just purely like love, what would you
Right.
focus on?
Good question, because that's something I'd say that's really shifted over the course of my career over the last 15 or so years.
Mhm.
I think when I started, it was all like kitchen, construction. I want to build a house from the ground up because that feels
Yeah.
big and
Mhm.
important. And I still love those projects and do quite a few of them. However, I think now if someone hires me to design their living room or just their bedroom, like not a big space, but they just want it to feel really special.
Yeah.
And I've really fallen in love with textiles and using different fabrics and having fun with that and putting trims on things and making things feel really designed, something that people can't just go out and buy or even really
Right.
do for themselves.
Yeah.
Designing a custom sofa and sketching it out and sending it to my furniture maker. Those are the projects where it's just so much detail and time into
Yeah.
a small thing,
Yeah.
but I know I can make it really special and do something that someone couldn't really do for themselves.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the projects that I've really loved doing lately.
Yeah, I love that. And it's funny we say when you're doing something from the ground up. Yes, because I too had that great idea of doing a ranch from the ground up. How hard could it be? And oh my Lord in heaven, have I gotten my rump handed to me on a platter. It is so much when you're
It is
thinking
a
of
lot.
like bringing electricity somewhere in
Oh,
addition to which way is the bed gonna face.
absolutely. And now I'm working with a lot of people here in Altadena who are rebuilding their homes
Ah,
after the
right.
fire. And, a lot of these people, they did not sign up to build a
No.
house. And it's not something they were interested in. And I tell people at the start of the project, you have no idea how many decisions you're about to have to
Oh
make.
God, it's amazing.
And hopefully we'll make that easy and smooth for you, but it is a lot, and to kind of prepare for that because
And that
there's so much.
decision fatigue.
Oh,
I
the
mean,
decisions.
I know some days like when I go up to the ranch with your husband and I just will say like I feel like I've been hit by a bus, backed into a fan, spit back out, made into
Right.
because it's just decision to, okay, how do you want
Yep.
and these are huge decisions. I mean, this is it might not seem like it and it's not going to solve world hunger, but you're making a decision about a $70,000 span of windows that, it can really bug you later if you don't
Yeah, you
make
wanna
the
make the
right
right
choice.
decision, and so I tell people, "Let's really spend the time now while you're in the
Yeah.
planning process,
Yeah.
so that you're not in a point where you're, like, being forced to make this decision next
Yes.
week, and then
Yeah.
you're making a bad choice because you didn't really, do it under the right circumstances of
Right.
thinking it through and having the time." So, I know everyone's so anxious to get back into their homes. I have so many close friends who are just dying to be back in their Alta residences, but, let's just slow it down a little bit and make
Yeah.
sure that we're getting you back into the house that you're really gonna love and feel like
Right.
you're home, and if it takes an extra couple months to put that time into the design,
Yeah.
trust me, it'll be worth it, and it will make your life better.
And what are so speaking of Altadena and the fires, and I don't know if you're working on any projects in the Palisades, but the friends I have that are
Yeah.
affected, I mean, it's just it is going slowly. I'm not talking about from like the
Mhm.
design perspective. I'm talking about from just the whether it's the cleanup or the insurance companies, holding people back or what's it like rebuilding in those kind of circumstances?
Yeah, I think there's just everyone has such a different story. People are
Mhm.
in such wildly different places in their life. For
Mhm.
someone who is in their early 40s versus their early 70s,
Mhm.
they're gonna be
Yeah.
looking at this very differently. Home means something different. They're in different life, you know, spans. And so I think that and everyone has such different insurance experiences. I have friends
Yeah.
who have had just such an easy time and some friends who feel like they've kinda gotten robbed.
Who are
And
the let's give a shout out to the good guys, the insurance companies. Do you know who the good insurance
oh
companies
gosh,
were?
people ask me all the time because my best friend has had a really great experience with her company, and I forget, so I'll
Okay.
have to let you know, and you can
You'll have
put
to
it in the
tell me, I'll
comments.
put it in the show notes because
Yeah,
it's
sure.
amazing. There's one, insurance company that one of my best friends is working with, and I will I see this commercial all the time with this older gentleman, and it's like, "Bump, ba bump, ba bump, bump." And then the name of this insurance company, and I just feel like saying, I just wanna write that guy a letter and be like, "Bump, ba bump, ba bump, bump. You guys don't do anything."
Right.
Yeah. So, and then now in that case,
Mhm.
your role really shifts, right? Because you're managing not just well, you could be managing from the ground up, or you could be managing half the house fell down and then how do you handle it?
Right.
But you can also be managing the cleanup of the toxic waste site, right?
Yeah, fortunately, that is far out of my scope and expertise, so there are other people who are taking that work, but, yeah, I do have clients who, for example, lost their casita or their pool house and
Right.
had major smoke damage to their house as a result, so
Yeah.
going through and replacing all the soft goods and
Yeah.
their window treatments and all of that, so it's just a big spectrum of different needs, but I really hope that the community comes back in the next few
Uh,
years stronger than ever, and Altadena has such a special
yeah.
spirit and group of people who I
Yeah.
know really wanna see it succeed, so
Yeah. People don't realize is that just because if your house didn't burn down, that it's the soft goods thing. It's the
oh, yeah.
couches and the clothes and the
Oh,
window coverings. I mean, it all has to
so much
go, right?
contamination, so much. So even homes that really don't look like they were affected much, their lead levels are testing, like, off the chart, so
Mhm.
it's like, "Okay, let's get rid of all the furniture and the mattresses, and
Yeah.
is it safe for us to bring our children home to this house?" And
Right.
just a lot of big questions that I don't think have a lot of very solid, concrete answers all the time.
Right. Right. Well, what are some parting shots? What would you like? Anything you want to talk about that we didn't talk about, or any advice you have for people who want to get into the business, or what do you think?
I mean, this is a great profession. It's filled with wonderful people. I think that's my favorite thing of what I do. I would say if you don't like working with people, I would say that is definitely the hardest part of the job. I,
Yes.
I think anyone who is at the heart of what they do in a customer service type of
Yes.
role will
I
attest.
concur.
And so just loving interior design is certainly not enough to make you love
No.
this profession. So I
Yes.
would take that to heart if this is something that you're thinking about doing. You have to really have a high tolerance for a lot.
Well, a lot of changes and a
A
lot of
lot.
emotions
A
and a
lot of
lot of
things,
just
a lot of personalities, and it's a lot of fun, but there's a lot of days that aren't as fun,
yeah.
and running your own business, whatever it is always a job in addition to whatever your actual profession
I
is.
was gonna say, yeah, it's not just interior design, then it's
Yeah.
bookkeeping and you're head of HR and all those other things. So
Yeah, and I absolutely love having my own business, and it's wonderful, and it comes with a lot of responsibility,
yeah.
so
Yep. I
mhm.
love it. Well, good luck in France in a
Thank
couple
you.
weeks, and please make my pitch again available. LA to Charles de Gaulle. I'm
Yes.
100% put my frequent flyer miles to work. And this was a total treat. So, Samantha Williams, tell us
Fun.
your website again and where people can find you on social media.
Great. Yeah, my website is williamsinteriordesign.com, and my Instagram handle is at SamanthaWilliams_design.
Awesome. I love it. Well, thank you so much. And thank you, Marco, for referring your fabulous wife. And that wraps another episode of Every Day's a Train Wreck. I'm your host, Marley Major, and you can find me on Instagram at The Party Goddess. And if you haven't already, please make sure that you subscribe to the show, comment, like it, give it 5 stars. We'd be so grateful. And most importantly, tell a friend. So until next week, have fun, be creative, and kind of step out of your zone. I don't know. Go re-feng shui or move those pieces around one of your rooms and see how much better you feel.
Yeah, go
All right.
wallpaper something.
Go wallpaper something. Go wallpaper a small ceiling, for gosh sakes. Okay. All right. Thank you again. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.